और हे नाम संकीर्तन की जय, रूपाद की जय।
Jai, thank you very much, Prabhu. Smogini Mataji, you want to introduce the speaker, and after that we can hand over to Samba Prabhu and get late started.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Standard Pranam. Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Samba Prabhuji was born in Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. He came in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books in the first year while pursuing his BTech graduation in 2014. After completing his BTech, he worked for a year and then joined Iskcon Salem, Tamil Nadu. As a brahmachari, his first service was book distribution. And then in 2021, right after the opening of lockdown, he, along with the association of a wonderful devotee Salem Temple Sankirtan, could distribute 400 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam sets and 250 sets of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets during the marathon session. In the following year, 2022, within a month, he could distribute Srila Prabhupada's transcendental books, Srimad Bhagavatam sets and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets, along 100 sets traveling various states among devotees and also inspiring devotees to read and distribute Srimad Bhagavatam sets as per his Guru's instructions. Currently, he is serving in Srila Prabhupada mission not only by distributing Srimad Bhagavatam sets and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets to every house in the whole world, but also encouraging other devotees to become avid book distributors. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण एवरीवन।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
So everyone is able to hear me?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
यस प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam Saptaha. So now we'll be discussing about the topics in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein we all of you know that Srila Prabhupada, to start this Iskcon International Society for Krishna Consciousness from West, he took this transcendental literature Srimad Bhagavatam alone as a transcendental literature. Srila Prabhupada used this Srimad Bhagavatam for the glorifying, for spreading the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Everyone may think that, oh, how they can understand this transcendental literature, why Prabhupada took this Srimad Bhagavatam. That was all we have heard from the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and the last session by Jagan Mohan Gopal Prabhu. So in this session, we will see what is the move, why Srila Prabhupada has compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the preface, we can see that we must know the present need of human society. And what is that need? Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to a particular country or community. Human society is broader than in the Middle Ages. And the old tendency is towards one state or one human being, one human society. So, and also because of this widespread of education system, which was started by this British government, so everyone in the human society are seeing all human beings as one particular society, one society. They are not committed to a particular country. So on this point, there is a slight provocation in everyone's heart that we can see from Papa's preface. That is because due to the lack of Krishna consciousness in the society, that which has to be started right from the age of Kaumara. Kaumara achret pragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma tadapi adhruvam arthatam. So here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that godless civilization is lacking this. There is God, or the disparity in human society is due to lack of principles in a godless civilization. There is God, or all the Almighty One, from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything is merged to rest. Material science has tried to find the ultimate source of creation very insufficiently, but that is fact that there is one ultimate source of everything that be. This ultimate source is explained rationally and authoritatively in the beautiful Bhagavatam or Srimad Bhagavatam. So anyhow, we have only 1 hour. How much I can explain from the vast Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, wherein Srila Prabhupada has compiled all the essence from the Srimad Bhagavatam, complete 12 cantos. We can get it directly from this first canto itself, wherein here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that there is a need in the human society about establishing the principles of Bhagavata Dharma, which are related to the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as because every soul is the living Krishna's part and parcel, he will be satisfied by serving his lotus feet. Because of lacking of this devotional service, everyone in the human society, they can see there is some lacking in their whole life. That Srila Prabhupada is mercifully fulfilling by this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein from Sutta Goswami and Vedavyasa we have got only in the Sanskrit slokas. By mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have got uh, for every sloka into English translation, and as well as in many languages available throughout the world. Total around 40 languages this Srimad Bhagavatam is available. Srila Prabhupada here pointing out from Bhagavatam first canto fifth sloka that Tadbhag Visargo Janataga Viplava, that Yasmin Pratislokam Abadhavapati, Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitani Yat Grinvanti Sa Ghayanti Grinanti Shrinvanti Sadavaha. So this transcendental literature, which is full of techniques related to the transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though it is compiled in a foreign language, may have some difficulties or grammatical errors. That this will be because this is having completely glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which will bring revolution in the current society. Everyone who is reading this Srimad Bhagavatam. That's sloka by Narada Muni. Therein here, Narada Muni is predicting that every common man, every sane man will sing about Srimad Bhagavatam, will talk about Srimad Bhagavatam, will remember the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is predicted by Srila Narada Muni. That we can see in our lifetime, that because of his divine grace Srila Prabhupada, through his mercy, now the Srimad Bhagavatam is available throughout the whole world. So any common man, any sane man can easily understand this Srimad Bhagavatam, as we have heard yesterday, that any person who is not like owl, closing his eyes to see the sun, those who are sincere seekers of this Srimad Bhagavatam, sincere hearers, sincere readers of this Srimad Bhagavatam, will get the light of knowledge from this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Coming to the introduction of this first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Srila Prabhupada is introducing the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is personally Krishna himself, came as a devotee to bestow transcendental devotional service to the Supreme, to every common man, every man. Wherein Srila Prabhupada is explaining the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in a brief manner, so that through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whoever is reading this Srimad Bhagavatam will understand through his mercy. And also, Srila Prabhupada has given the lifetime pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this transcendental literature in the introduction itself, so that the reader will get the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here in the introduction, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's compiled slokas, that Shikshashtaka, were given, where the glories of Sri Krishna Sankirtana were explained, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spread the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. This Srimad Bhagavatam is completely full of Lord's transcendental holy names, his pastimes, his activities, his transcendental activities with his pure unalloyed devotees, who are thoroughly seen in the coming chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. In the first canto, first chapter, coming to the first verse, starting with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, wherein Srila Vyasadeva is explaining about all the glories and offering respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is son of Vasudeva. And as the Naimisharanya Rishis are performing a 1,000 years sacrifice, for the benefit of Kali Yuga people, because this age, Kali, is Kala Aste Yugejana, Prayan Alpayusha Kala Aste Yugejana, Manda Sumanda Mateo, Manda Bhagya Putrita. In this Kali Yuga, it is full of all misfortune, and the people here are suffering from Kharapidita, with famine and floods, as well as apart from suffering from all these situations, their age is very short, Alpayusha, and they were hampered, always tortured by these taxes collected by these government officials. Because of this all tortures and ill effects of this Kali Yuga, people will run away from this cities and go to the forest. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining how the sages of the past yugas are so much anxious to save the fallen people of this Kali Yuga from the fallen age, and give them the benefit of this transcendental literature, which has been given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, wherein Suta Goswami heard it and given it to Naimisharanya Rishis. Here the Naimisharanya Rishis are asking these 6 questions. These 6 questions to Suta Goswami, who is addressing them. One first question is, what is the absolute and ultimate good Shreya for people in general? What is the second question is, what is the essence, Sara of all literatures, scriptures? For what purpose the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? Fourth question, tell us the acts of the Lord performed in relation to creating the material world. Fifth question narrate us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, multi-incarnations. Sixth question, where has religion taken shelter after Krishna has retired to his abode? These are the 6 questions which were asked by the sages of Naimisharanya Rishis to Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami here Here in this first canto, he is explaining that this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Sara of all literatures, because of having short term life in the age of Kali, people may not have the time to understand all the Puranas, Upanishads, Vedas, so that the Naimisharanya Rishis are asking uh, Naimisharanya Rishis are asking this question: please give us the essence of all scriptures. So then Suta Goswami is explaining in the second chapter that these questions asked by the sages were he is appreciating the questions asked by the sages, and also he is very respectfully offering his obeisances to the supreme to his spiritual master Sukadev Goswami. There we can see this beautiful verse is glorifying that Srila Sukadev Goswami, Srila Suta Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went there away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, "O my son, indeed only the trees which were observed in the same feeling of separation echoed in response to the grieved father." So that is the offering here. Suta Goswami is offering respectful obeisances to Sukadeva Goswami. Here we can see here clearly glorifying the Sukadeva Goswami, and that is the way of offering respects to the spiritual master, to glorify them, to glorify in front of them, as we do every day in our daily life in Iskcon, that we offer respectful obeisances to our beloved Divine Guest Srila Prabhupada by saying Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarni, which says that he had condemned, he had removed, abolished this monoism, impersonalism in the Paschata Western countries by vigorously traveling and preaching the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. In this same chapter, we can see that Suta Goswami is explaining the importance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, is Jivera Swarup Hai Nitya Krishna Das. By only rendering transcendental devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, every living entity will attain the supreme bliss, which he is hankering from life after life, conditioned in this material body. Here, Suta Goswami is explaining in the text 8, Dharma Swanustita Punsa Visvaksena Katasvya Notpadaya Dyatirati Sramayeva Hi Kevalam. The occupational activity a human performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. That those who are engaging in this ardha is to attain riches, which is just useless labor if they are not attaining devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, loving relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the coming slokas, here clearly explains that only to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will satisfy the conditioned soul. And how that can be attained, it is given here. Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastra Bhadrani Vidnoti Sudakshana. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the great fruitful devotee, cleanses his desire for material enjoyment from the hearts of the devotees who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Here nicely Prabhupada is explaining in his purport that a sincere hearer of this transcendental literature, transcendental holy names, and transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be cleansed his heart with the help of Krishna, who is personally present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. And coming to the third chapter, wherein Suta Goswami, upon the request of the Naimisharana rishis, he is explaining all the incarnations which happened from the beginning of this creation to the annihilation of this whole universe. Wherein, because in the beginning of this creation, Mahavishnu, who is lying in the causal ocean of this universe, lying on the serpent bed, through his navel lake, the sprouted lotus, wherein Brahma, the first created being, appeared in this lotus flower. And then coming to the Paramatma feature, there this form of the Lord is the cause of all the incarnations entering to this universe. Here, the more 13 important of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnations were explained in this third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us go through them quickly, few of them. Kumara's incarnations, Sukara incarnation, Narada incarnation, Naranarana incarnation, Kapila, the author of Sankhya philosophy, Dattatreya incarnation, Yagna, Rishabha, Prithu, Matsya, Kurma, Dhanvantri, Mohini, Nrsimha, Vamana, Brigapati, Vyasadeva, Rama. Here we can see in the description, while explaining the incarnation of Lord Rama, Suta Goswami explains the unlimited potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because this weightlessness is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to which these unlimited big planets or big planets are floating with this energy of weightlessness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead, he brought this weightlessness within this universe, within this planet, which cannot be which cannot be understood by the scientists, has made the stones weightless and made them float on the water and made a bridge on the water without any columns, without any support from the pillars. And then after Lord Rama, Balarama incarnated, then Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. Lord Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, is the Etechan Sakala Vishnu. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Etechan Sakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is established as the supreme personality of Godhead among all those incarnations and the great sages who appeared because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of his potency. And coming to the fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Narada Muni appeared, because why Narada Muni appeared, we can see clearly. In the fourth chapter, Vyasadeva, he has compiled all the Vedas and he divided the Vedas into 4 parts. And after compiling these Vedas, he gave these Puranas as the 5th Veda. And after giving these Puranas, Srila Vyasadeva has given the ultimate beneficiary of all the living entities, even for the three Vaishya Dvijabandhus, the Mahabharata, wherein he included this transcendental Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and also the Vishnu Sahasranama, which were glorified by Srila Bhishma Deva on the arrow bed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So here, Srila Narada Muni appeared because Srila Vyasadeva is very, very unsatisfied, very, very unsatisfied, even though he has compiled all this great Vedic literature and also given this transcendental. He has also given this Mahabharata, wherein he has compiled continuously 1 lakh slokas for the benefit of three Vaishyas and Dvijabandhus who cannot have access, who don't have the access for the Vedas, cannot understand the Vedas because of their less intelligence. Then also he is not satisfied. He is lamenting, why I am not satisfied. Maybe this is because of the lacking of devotional service, which I have not mentioned in this, not yet, which I have not yet mentioned. Then, by this time, Narada Muni has appeared near the cottage of Srila Vyasadeva. Then, coming from this, we can understand that this transcendental pastime of the Srila Vyasadeva, that in this material world, by our futile attempts to be happy, we can never be happy. Even the great Vyasadeva, who is incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he cannot be satisfied. He cannot get that satisfaction from his heart because he has not glorified the personal pastimes, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because of that lacking in his heart, he was not satisfied. That Srila Vyasadeva, he in the next chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, is a very important chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Narada Muni is explaining the pastime of why Vyasadeva is not satisfied after writing all the Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharata, which includes Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranama. Here, Narada Muni is saying, "Oh, Parasarya Mahabhaga, O son of Parasara Muni, you are got such an means such a nice birth, being a son of Parasara Muni and incarnation of personality of Godhead yourself." Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashara, Narada inquired, "Are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization?" This is the question by Narada Muni to Vyasadeva. So upon this, Vyasadeva is requesting by Narada Muni by glorifying him, because Narada Muni is in the position, he knows everything within everyone, every living entity's heart. He is Trikalagna. He can understand the heart of Vyasadeva. So he is requesting Narada Muni by glorifying him. Then upon the request of Narada Muni, upon the request of Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni explains what is lacking by these points. We can see here, Sri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless, because Vedavyas has given all the Vedas which completely deals with dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It doesn't have any linking with the devotional aspect, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, wherein dharma, artha, kama, moksha will incline, will every common man will already inclined to do these activities which will gratify their senses, and also these will be the cause, these activities will be the cause for again repeated birth, and that janma karma, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, which are all sufferings, and as well as because of not involving in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by engaging in the hearing of the transcendental glories and holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everyone will be dissatisfied, even though they are in a family, there will be fightings between family members, between the community members, between the nations. Therein we can see Prabhupada is quoting a nice example. During compiling this chapter, there is a fight between China and India for an small piece of land wherein neither any person can live nor any agriculture can happen. This is the cause of Kali's influence. So, in order to rectify this influence of Kali, in the from the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can come to know that Krishna Swadhama Pagate Dharma Gnana Divisa Kalaunashta Drishamesha Purana. While explaining all the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sutta Goswami is explaining that this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, is Krishna himself coming to deliver these fallen souls of Kali from this hands of the Kali. So that's why everyone who is not having Srimad Bhagavatam should take immediately this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. And those who are having the Srimad Bhagavatam in their home should take to reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam, should take to the distribution of the Srimad Bhagavatam for the welfare of the whole society, human society. While this is because Krishna, here we can see Kali is residing in four places where the sinful activities are happening, four places, and as well as in the place where there is lots of gold is kept for sense gratification. We can see in everyone's house, in every one of us, among every one of us, some amount is already always kept as a savings. Maybe that can be for emergency purpose, or some will be having so much of their wealth in the bank for the benefit of their children. But what the benefit children will get because of this wealth? Because of this wealth, because Kali is sitting in that wealth, they will quarrel for this wealth. They will kill themselves for this wealth. Why should we give our children wealth so that money so that they kill each other or fight each other? Let us have Srimad Bhagavatam as our wealth. Let us give this wealth to all the children, all of our children, all of our parents, all of our relatives, whomever we know. By this whole only activity, everyone will be happy because of this transcendental literature, which completely explains the transcendental activities and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So coming to the next chapter, chapter 6, wherein Narada Muni is explaining his previous birth, wherein he had the opportunity to serve the great Vaishnavas in the month of Chaturmasya. This is now Chaturmasya is going on. So those who serve the transcendental devotees who are completely serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his sense gratification, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead sense gratification, by distributing this transcendental literature, this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the desire of Srila Prabhupada, and he has mercifully compiled this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, for the benefit of the whole human society. In keeping view of the fallen age, he has very elaborately explained this purpose, so that through his mercy, through his divine mercy, we can understand this transcendental literature. Who can understand Krishna? Krishna can be understood through his devotees only. But here from the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that Krishna is saying that I have come to this material world for the purpose of establishing dharma. And then in the next sloka, fourth chapter, ninth sloka, Krishna is saying, Janma karma cha me divyam yevam yoveti tattvata tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. By understanding my glories of janma and karma as it is, tattvataha, then you will not take birth in this material world, then you will come to me. Then how we can understand Krishna's pastimes as Tattvata, as it is? We know, every one of us know Krishna prior to Srila Prabhupada, prior to Iskcon. We know, we celebrate Janmashtami, but we do not follow the instructions of, people did not follow the instructions of Krishna. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyama sucha. They never surrender to Krishna because they have not understood, because they are not heard from pure devotee. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakto sime, priyo sime, sakacheti, bhaktya mam abhijanati. Krishna will be known to his devotees. Krishna will be known through his devotional service only. By the devotional service, Srila Narada Muni has understood Krishna. He has seen Krishna in his heart, because upon the request of Narada Muni, Lord Krishna appeared in his heart and explained, one has to be purified to see me, to come to me, to attain me. So one who is not purified, he cannot see me. So then coming to the 7th chapter, Drona, son of Drona, punished. Here the Suta Goswami is explaining the pastimes related to Pandavas and appearance of Parikshit Maharaj. Prior to the appearance of Parikshit Maharaj, Pandavas has won the battle, and Aswadhama, because of the influence of Duryodhana, he is restless and he killed the sons of Pandavas who are sleeping. Because of this offense, Arjuna wanted to chastise Drona's son Aswadhama. Due to fearfulness of Arjuna, Aswadhama he ran away because of his horses were fatigued. He could not run fast, and then because to protect himself, he has to shoot the Brahmastra, ultimate weapon. Upon this, Arjuna, in this critical situation, again took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is the glory of the transcendental devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In every situation, in any situation, they are completely surrendered to the Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, Arjuna took the advice of Krishna and fought back the Brahmastra with his own Brahmastra and retrieved both the Brahmastras and took this Aswadhama culprit to Draupadi. Draupadi is a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So she said, this son of Brahmana be spared, because she knew the grievance of her 5 sons' death, because he is the son of her supreme spiritual master's mother, son of her spiritual master. She doesn't want to make her unhappy by his death. So then, coming to the 8th chapter, prayers by Queen Kunti. Here, Kunti Maharani is praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is about to leave because he has established the Pandavas on the throne and everything was settled. So now he is about to leave. Then during this time, Kunti Maharani started praying, "Oh Krishna, you are leaving us at this point of time, wherein all the enemies are very angry to take the opportunity to kill us. After all, Pandavas are now being the emperor of the world. You are leaving us. So let always the calamities be upon us, so that we can always think about your lotus feet of the Lord, by which we can cross over this Bhavasagara. There is no other way. There is no other way. Only to think of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to cross over this material world. Then coming to the 9th chapter, here the passing away of Bhishma Deva was explained very beautifully by Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami is explaining that the Bhishma Deva is about to leave this material world. The time has come. So Krishna has arranged all the Pandavas well dressed in the form of kings, and took them to Bhishma Deva, who is on the arrow bed is about to pass away from this material world because of the time, because because of this blessings from his father, Bhishmadev, he can go at his own will. He can, if he wants, he can leave the body. Nothing will be the cause of his death. So that during that time, Krishna inspired Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask Bhishma Deva about the intricacies of ruling the kingdom as a king. So here Krishna is giving the glories to his pure devotees. That's what here we can see clearly from the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Krishna is always want to glorify his devotees, and his devotees always wanted to glorify Krishna. In material world, we can never see any person who is like this, like this. We can see in material world, a boss is glorifying master to exploit him. A boss is glorifying his servant to exploit him, and a servant is glorifying his master to expect more reward from him. That's what is happening in this material world. But in transcendental world, where in absolute world, all the devotees of the Lord wants to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna wants to glorify his devotees. He wants to give glories to his devotees. That even though many great Munish and Rishis are there on that particular place of Bhishma Dev, where Bhishma Dev is lying on the arrow bed, Krishna is inspiring Arjuna, Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask Bhishma Dev. Therein Bhishma Dev is nicely glorifying the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead here, even though he is on the arrow bed. Who can do this? Only the pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are Mahajanas, who completely dedicated to their life to propagate and to glorify the activities and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can only glorify at any point of time. Here we can see from this teachings of Bhishmadev to Yudhishthira. And after this, Lord started to leave to Dwaraka. Here, after killing, Sonaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did greatest of all religious men, Maharaja Yudhishthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. So upon this request by Sonaka the Rishis, Suta Goswami is saying that Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the whole world, became pleased after re-establishing Maharaj Yudhishthira in his own kingdom, and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which has been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger. Now the Krishna final pastimes were coming to take place. Then Suda Goswami is explaining here so all the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead which happened after Krishna returned to his abode Dwaraka. And also in this chapter, Suta Goswami is explaining how the Yudhishthir Maharaj has ruled his subjects without any problems, without any miseries, without any discomforts. Because kings having no enemies, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. Even the earth is producing unlimited number of minerals, with unlimited crops, agricultural yields, so much so that the king Yudhishthira Maharaj, he had not any necessary to collect taxes to run the government. That is the rule of Ramaraja, because Yudhishthira Maharaj is the pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He ruled according to the instructions of Krishna. That's the way Ramaraja can be established. Not that Ramaraja can be established without Rama. Without the Rama, Ramaraja cannot be established. Ravana wanted to establish the kingdom without any miseries or without any discomfort. He wanted to establish his kingdom as Swarga. Swarna Lanka it is called. He doesn't want Rama, he wants Lakshmi, Sita, he wanted to enjoy Lakshmi. What happened finally? He was ruined. This is what happening to all the great leaders of this present human society. They were all just addicted to the position and they are not subjected, they are not ruling, they're not protecting their subjects. They were just exploiting their subjects. They were just exploiting the subjects and glorifying them for their words, and the subjects glorifying them for their sense gratification. Then there is no peace and prosperity in the society. Coming to the 11th chapter, Lord Krishna entered into the Dwarka, wherein here we can see the beautiful description of the city of the Dwarka was explained by Suta Goswami. Very amazingly, the city was uh, present. Krishna is having 16,108 queens, and every queen, each queen is having each a palace. And Krishna is nicely welcomed by the citizens of the Dwarka. Everyone came to the streets to welcome uh, Sri Krishna to Dwarka. All the roads were scented with fragrant oils. Thus, Krishna entered Dwarka and receiving all on hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarka Dama, magnanimous Vasudeva, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balarama, the supreme, the superhumanly powerful Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Samba, the son of Jambavati, all extremely happy, abandoned resting, sitting, and dining. This is the situation of the Dwarkavasis. Upon hearing this news itself that Krishna is approaching Dwarka, they were not ready to sleep, they were not ready to sit, they were not ready to eat. That's the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his ecstasy of devotees in the transcendental devotional service. After entering the house of his father, he embraced by the mothers present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto him by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki. See, Krishna, even though he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is teaching us, he is teaching these common citizens how he should act according to the rules and regulations given by the scriptures. So Krishna is apart from these Vedas, even above these Vedas, but he is acting according to the instructions given by the Vedas because people will follow him. If he does not follow, then people will be misguided by not following the Vedas. So Krishna is nicely explaining, nicely describing by displaying these transcendental activities. Coming to the 12th chapter, here we can see Emperor Maharaj Parikshit his birth pastimes are explained. In this chapter, we can see that Uttara, she know that Maharaj Parikshit was in her womb, and due to the heat generated by the weapon of Aswadhama, she can feel the heat in her stomach. Because of fear, she immediately took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and clearly we can see in this chapter that Krishna, as Paramatma, in the heart of Uttara, entered the womb of Uttara and protected Parikshit Maharaj from the weapon of Aswadhama by fighting the effects of this supreme weapon, Brahmastra, with his club. And as the son, means Parikshit Maharaj, took the attention of the personality of Godhead near his presence, immediately after dissipating the effects of this Brahmastra, Krishna disappeared from the view of Parikshit Maharaj. And coming to the 12th chapter of this literature, wherein we are describing the birth pastimes of the Parikshit Maharaj on the particular uh, celestial on particular time, Parikshit Maharaj took birth, and he is the only successor of is the only predecessor. Sorry, he's the only grandson of Pandavas. None of the sons of Pandavas are living. He is the only person capable to be given of capable to be a king of the whole world. Look, in the 13th chapter, here nicely you can see that Sutta Goswami is explaining the pastime of Vidura coming back and teaching Dhritarashtra about detachment from this material world and to concentrate on elevating this human form of life. So while traveling on the surface of the earth, how did then in during that time when Vidura appeared in the home of Yudhishthira Maharaj very gorgeously received Vidura and asked questions for his satisfaction. And upon answering Yudhishthira's question, Vidura showed his attention to deliver the fallen situation of Dhritarashtra. He is his brother himself. He is his brother. So Dhritarashtra, even though throughout his whole life, always planned to kill the Pandavas, conspired with his son Duryodhana, he now residing under the shelter of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So stating this situation as a situation of the dog, Yudhishthira Maharaj, dog of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Vidura is breaking the attachments of Duryodhana. So we are all having so much attachment to our family, relations, parents, sons, daughters, everyone, thinking that they will help us during our miseries or during our time of death. But none of them can save us. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is residing in our heart as Paramatma, can only save us. Only by his mercy, any person can be saved. We can see from the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, which will be coming in the chapter 7, wherein we can see Hiranyakashipu to get the boon of immortality from Brahma by doing tapasya for 60,000 years, he could not achieve that boon. He could not achieve that boon because Brahma himself is immortal. So how can he give mortality to Hiranyakashipu? So then we can see Hiranyakashipu is so envious of his great son, who is pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He wanted to kill him. So in order to protect his devotees, Krishna appeared as Narsimhadeva and protected Prahlad Maharaja from by killing Hiranyakashipu. The wonderful pastimes we can study, we can read if we are having Srimad Bhagavatam. If you are not having Srimad Bhagavatam, please immediately get to Gaurachandra Gopal Prabhu to get Srimad Bhagavatam for yourself. So these wonderful activities of the Lord's devotees are explained in the upcoming cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam from first canto onwards. All the activities of Bharat Maharaj, who upon his name this whole planet is called Bharatavarsha, will be explained. So on like this, Vidura is explaining that only through understanding the activities of personality of Godhead, and by detaching from this material world, only one can liberate his conditioned life. Coming to the 14th chapter, here the description of Lord Krishna's disappearance were explained by Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami explained that clearly that all the yadus in the Prabhasa Kshetra, they were fighting among themselves and went back home, back to Godhead. So during that time, Krishna is explaining, Sutta Goswami is explaining how Vidura, he took the audience of all the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and instructions at that moment. And coming to the 15th chapter, Pandavas retired timely. Here Pandavas, seeing the ill effects of Kali, praying of these asses and quarrel between the family members, the brothers are fighting and the son is beating his father. These are all the effects of Kali Yuga. Seeing this Kali Yuga, they are thinking and were very lamenting because Arjuna was sent to get the news about Krishna's leaving this planet. So Krishna, they were waiting because Arjuna was not returning, and they are seeing these ill effects also. Upon seeing these ill effects and coming to know that Krishna has left this planet, all the Pandavas retired by placing Parikshit Maharaj as the king of the whole universe, whole world. Then how Parikshit Maharaj received the age of Kali, coming to the 16th chapter. Here we can see how glorious Parikshit Maharaj is. He is in his youth, he is having all strength, all vigor, that whoever his enemy is, they will come, they will surrender at his lotus feet and give their whole wealth just to get benefit, just to be benefited by Parikshit Maharaj. That is the glories of Parikshit Maharaj. While upon his touring throughout the whole world, Parikshit Maharaj saw a king, Sudra dressed as a king, trying to chastise mother cow and bull, whose all three legs are already broken. So, as in order to chastise this Kali, Parikshit Maharaj immediately raised his sword. See, upon seeing this great warrior in front of him, Kali, he cannot fight, so he surrendered. So he removed his dress of the king and he surrendered. See, here we can clearly understand how Prabhupada is explaining that Parikshit Maharaj, he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the supreme time. He is arranging the favorable situation for Kali to enter this planet. Here, Kali's effect is doing sinful activities. In the Raja of Parikshit Maharaj, these four sinful activities, that meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, they don't have any space. They don't have any place in throughout his kingdom. His kingdom is whole world. There is no space for the Kali to enter. So then, seeing this Kali surrendering, he could understand. Neither he can kill Kali because he is surrendered. As a king, he cannot kill his surrendered subjects. And that means Kali can enter. And if he kills Kali, then that is against the principle of Kshatriya, then also Kali will enter. So seeing this what is that effect of the supreme time, influence, the Parikshit Maharaj, upon the request of Kali, gave a place to stay in the place where wealth, lots of riches is kept, which is not utilized for the glory, preaching the glorious message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to serve the Vaishnavas. So here, whoever is devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his region or in his kingdom or in his house or in the society where he is living, or like in the society of temple, we can see these four regulative principles are strictly followed. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. These are strictly followed. But now we can see the life of grihasthas, they are having lots of riches. This is which is not utilized for the Supreme Personality of Godhead's seva, preaching these glories and serving his devotees, Vaishnavas. There the Kali resides. There Kali is causing these quarrels between family members, between the members of the society, devotees, because Kali is presence. When this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, comes, because of in order to relieve the effects of this Kali Yuga, this Srimad Bhagavatam is coming, and those who are having the Srimad Bhagavatam in their home, the effects of Kali will not be there. And those who are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, even a sloka, even a half sloka, is very pleasing to Krishna. That doesn't mean that, okay, Prabhu, from now we'll read only half sloka or one sloka. No. See, even a sloka is giving such a benefit, then what benefit when a reader will get when he is reading this Srimad Bhagavatam again and again, again and again. This is Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Once we finish this reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can again read again and again. That's the taste. Nigama kalpataro ghalitam phalam sukamuka dhamruta dravya samyuta pibata bhagavata rasamalaya muhuruhur bhuvi bhavaka. So that's what Vedavyas is explaining. That please everyone drink this nectarian Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in the form of honey. Just drink it. So, and then coming to the next chapter, chapter 17. Even though this age of Kali is is a degraded age and quarrelsome age and age of hypocrisy, there is atra eka mahan guna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param. And also this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, has incarnated as Surya to dissipate the ignorance of the age of Kali. Those who are ignorant, we are suffering because Kali Yuga means due to the Kali's presence, every one of us are suffering. Alpavisha, Mandamata, Mandabhagya, most unfortunate, most dull-headed. So always Kharapidita, so much difficulties by the Adhibhotika kleshas are there, tapatrayas are there. So this is the degraded edge of Kali. In order to remove this degraded edge of Kali, Srimad Bhagavatam is the literature which is personally Krishna himself has come to dissipate this ignorance. Because of ignorance, everyone is suffering. Why this ignorance is? Because of forgetfulness of Krishna. Because of forgetfulness of Krishna, because of that ignorance, we are committing sinful activities and reaping the results of the sinful activities, sinful reactions, and we are suffering. Each and every one of us are suffering. Each and every one of us are suffering, we know, and we are trying practically all the ways possible to get rid of these sufferings. But unfortunately, we are always getting the sufferings. In fact, we are not getting any happiness. We are thinking that absence of the suffering as happiness. The real happiness is taking to the glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayameva Spuratyata. Those who are doing this, they will personally realize in their heart. As a person who is suffering from hunger, if he eats his full meal, he will be happy. His hunger will be fulfilled. So in the same way, every one of us are hankering for the happiness. In fact, even though we are hankering and endeavoring for happiness, only distress are coming upon us. So then why we have to endeavor in our occupational activities to get in search of happiness? Here, the third chapter, the fifth chapter, Narada Muni is explaining. So I will go back to fifth chapter later. Now let me complete all the 18 chapters once. This is the reward of Kali Yuga. And coming to the 18th chapter, Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. These pastimes of Parikshit Maharaj were explained by Sutta Goswami because Naimisharanya rishis have asked about the pastimes of Parikshit Maharaj. When they have heard that this Srimad Bhagavatam is literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then upon their request, Sutta Goswami is narrating all these pastimes of related to Parikshit Maharaj and Pandavas and Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of time, now this is the time for Kali to enter, and Parikshit Maharaj is so strong, he is so wonderfully defeating the ill effects of Kali Yuga. He is not allowing Kali to enter in his kingdom. So now Krishna personally has to involve to let this happen, Kali to enter. So then, in certain situation, Parikshit Maharaj went to the forest for hunting expedition. During that time, the kings are allowed to do hunting because they has to be trained to punish the king, but to punish the subjects if they are miscreants. So he has to train himself. So by killing the ferocious animals, not the innocent animals, ferocious animals fighting one to one. In such expedition, Srila Parikshit Maharaj, he became alone and he was so much thirsty that he entered a hermitage of a sage, and then he requested the sage, because he is a king, he ordered the sage for water to quench his thirst. The sage, the Brahmana, he is in the meditation, he could not hear the request or order of the Parikshit Maharaj, so he neglected. Being neglected by the Brahmana, Parikshit Maharaj, upon uh, this neglection, he garlanded the Brahmana with a dead snake around the neck. Then, upon this incidents, hearing from his friends, the son of this Brahmana cursed the Parikshit Maharaj that he will be died within the span of 7 days by the snake bite. Even though Parikshit Maharaj is the emperor of the whole world and is the pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whom he was protected in his womb, Krishna personally came to protect Parikshit Maharaj in his womb from the Brahmastra of Aswadhama. He could have immediately counteracted this curse by his own mystic power, but he did not do so. He could understand this is the cause, this is the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he immediately renounced the whole kingdom, giving whole kingdom to his king, his son Janmejaya. He retired to the Saraswati river and he sat there to fast until death. And then the appearance of come here in the 19th chapter, the appearance of Sukadev Goswami comes here. Sukadev Goswami, he is explained as the Paramahamsa, even at the time of birth itself, at his, even at the time of his birth, he was so elevated that he is not attached. He immediately left the home. Then, upon the request of Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami has heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and now he has personally assimilated the subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he is traveling throughout the whole world to distribute this Srimad Bhagavatam, which he has got from Srila Vyasadeva. See, from the whole Bhagavatam, we have come to know that this Srimad Bhagavatam has been given to Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridayada Kavi Muhyanti Yad Surya. Then Brahma gave this knowledge to Narada Muni upon his request. Then Narada Muni gave this knowledge to Vyasadeva upon his lamentation because of lack of satisfaction even after writing the Vedic literatures. Then Vedavyasa upon meditating in the upon meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he upon his maturity returned this Srimad Bhagavatam, compiled this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And after compiling this, he distributed this to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. Unless his son Sukadeva Goswami has been given this knowledge, he was not happy because after giving this Srimad Bhagavatam to his son Sukadeva Goswami, Vedavyas is very happy, and in his footsteps we should also follow that we should give to our children this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Instead of sending our children to the slaughterhouse education, which always Srila Prabhupada used to say, instead of spending lakhs of rupees on the slaughterhouse education, we should send our children to get trained in this transcendental literature of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidya Bhagavata Vadihi. Limit of education is Srimad Bhagavatam. By glorifying and by rendering devotional service to the few devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by rendering submissive oral reception, then the student or the disciple will get the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam revealed in his heart, because the speaker, the Supreme Person, the spiritual master, because he has realized this knowledge, he will give this knowledge to the surrendered disciple. From this, we can understand clearly that those professional speakers who depend upon the Hatha explaining of Srimad Bhagavatam by getting some income, they were not encouraged at all through this transcendental literature. We can see, because all those who have heard are all such great transcendental devotees, and those who have distributed, those whom to those whom they have distributed, they are also pure devotees of the Lord. And now we may have doubt, okay, now I am not a devotee, or I'm just completely engrossed in the activities of this material world. Then how I can take to this spiritual loving devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That we can clearly come to know from the teachings of Narada Muni to Vedavyasa from this verse, section number 15 from chapter 5 of Canto 1. If every one of you having Srimad Bhagavatam, please take first canto, chapter 5, text 15. See how Prabhupada is explaining wonderfully in his purports. I'll just go through the purport and translation of this text. Translation. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Purport. Srila Vyasadeva compiled Srila Vyasadeva's compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performance of fruitive activities as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literatures is condemned herewith by Srila Narada. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. They have no sense of the responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory material, illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to whom, going back to Godhead, back home. To revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 84 lakh is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned soul. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life. And as such, the only occupation of the human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God. Under the circumstance, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious function. Such diversions of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the author in Vedic explanation in the Mahabharata. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc. And his encouragement in sense enjoyment is some form or other is a greater barrier for spiritual advancement because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain age of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, as sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too much rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authority of the Vedas. In order to stop animal slaughter in the name of religion, this was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating, but gradually the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population. But it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporal defects or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in human life. In histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore in the Mahabharata. The whole idea of Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instruction of the Bhagavad Gita that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topics, namely the Bhagavad Gita. This comprising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada. This compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada, who advised him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to release one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he would not at all take. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruity work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only triumphant philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional life need not be always so advised. See here, Nardamuni is nicely explaining why we have to take to this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srila Prabhupada has mercifully elaborated the mood what Nardamuni is wanting to Vyasadeva to write. This Srimad Bhagavatam was explained here by Srila Prabhupada. So even a small child can understand these topics of Srimad Bhagavatam by reading the purports of Srila Prabhupada, not by any other we mean. Again, coming to the 11th sloka from the same chapter, chapter 5, Canto 1, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Avadhavavati Api Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitani Yat Shrinvanti Ghayanti Grinanti Sadavaha. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, etc. of the ultimate Supreme Lord is a different creation full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. In this sloka of Prabhupada is explaining in one of his lectures that everyone in the human society will welcome this great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, because every living entity is Krishna's part and parcel. Every living entity is directly connected to Krishna. Their only satisfaction is to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everyone will welcome. So upon the Narada Muni's instruction, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that everyone will accept this. And Krishna personally has incarnated as Srimad Bhagavatam to deliver the conditioned souls and to remove the ill effects of Kali Yuga. So we all take these instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yaradeko Thareko Krishna Upadesh, and this Bhagavatam is Krishna Upadesh, and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are Krishna Upadesh, Krishnena Upadesh and Krishna Upadesh. By distributing these transcendental literatures to all our contacts in our mobile phones, we are achieving this instruction at Yaradeko Tareko Krishna Upadesh. And by this, we will be happy, whole world will be happy. And in order to get rid of the effects of this Kali Yuga, to instead of keeping so much assets in our bank, we keep Srimad Bhagavatam asset. If you are having 1 lakh or 10 lakhs, with that full worth, keep Srimad Bhagavatam sets in your home. This will bring auspiciousness, which is imperceptible to the whole place where Srimad Bhagavatam is kept, to the whole village where Srimad Bhagavatam is kept. Whoever carrying the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is ever hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, whoever is taking darshan of Srimad Bhagavatam, this all auspiciousness will come to them. So here we will conclude this. Any questions or anything, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I think we have exactly 9:30. Maybe one question we can take, Prabhu. Anyone has any questions for Prabhu? So thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu is not only speaking Bhagavatam, but he lives Bhagavatam. He tries to reach out and distribute. It's very difficult. How many of you think distributing Bhagavatam is easy? How many of you think distributing Bhagavatam is easy? It's not easy. But yes, when Prabhupada mercy is there, it's simple thing can become easy. Prabhu is a living example. He reaches to so many people. They live by Bhagavatam, what it is prescribed. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we are good to close this today meeting. Please, we can meet tomorrow. Anyone has any question?
1 minute. Meanwhile, someone asks question, just I will take 2 minutes. Krishna was explaining to Arjuna that nimitta matra bhava savya sachi, that just we need to become instrument to deliver this Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone we see, everyone we meet, because this is Krishna's desire to go to everyone's house. This is the desire of the pure devotees of the Lord to go to give Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone's house. This is the what is that called? When Bhakti Devi was lamenting because his sons Gnana and Vairagya were not taken care, so then Narada Muni is giving his word that I will establish Srimad Bhagavatam in everyone's house. By that, Bhakti devotional service will be established in everyone's house. So means by Srimad Bhagavatam alone we can become devotees, by no other way. That we can clearly hear from the first canto itself. Prabhupada is explaining, and Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami is also explaining. There is no other way to become a devotee unless we take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. That we have seen in the life cycle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has lived Srimad Bhagavatam. He explained, he traveled throughout the whole world, whole India, and explained, distributed this Srimad Bhagavatam as his religion, and he has given this order. Upon his order, we take the Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone. Taraye Desh. So Srimad Bhagavatam alone will deliver the all people. Any questions?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anyone wants to ask? Anyone is ready?
I think we are already on time. We are already on time. Prabhu, we are already on time. I request participants, those who want to leave, officially we will end. But in case somebody have some questions, want to talk to Prabhu, we will extend 5 minutes. But officially we are winding up this session. Prabhu, some questions. He'll be available for another 2-3 minutes. Then we will wind up.
Some may ask, some may have the doubt. Oh, this Srimad Bhagavatam is such a wonderful, glorious literature, such an exalted literature. How a common man can understand? So that's what Krishna Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is personally Krishna Tulya Bhagavatam. As we know that Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhu, can you share that? Varchandra Prabhu, can you share that PDF wherein all the cantos were Krishna's?
Yes, Prabhu.
Verse?
Oh, you're sharing. Just give me.
Yeah, first one.
This one.
Yes, Prabhu. See, here Bhagavatam is described. First 2 cantos are lotus feet, 3-4 cantos are thighs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5th canto is navel, 6th canto is the chest of the Personality of Godhead, 7th canto is arms, 8th canto also arms, 9th canto throat, 10th canto is lotus face of the Lord, and 11th canto is the forehead of the Personality of Godhead, and 12th canto is the head. So, who can understand Krishna? That's the nice question you may have. Everyone have this question. Then how to understand Krishna? That is possible through the association of his pure devotees. That is possible because whoever is reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is having Bhakti Vedanta purports given by Srila Prabhupada, can easily understand because he is pure devotee of the personality of Godhead, Krishna. He can deliver us this knowledge.
I think, Prabhu, there is no questions. We should wind up here. Thank you very much for your wonderful association, Prabhu, and inspiring all of us to distribute Bhagavatam. And we take a lot of inspiration from you. Thank you so much for dedicating yourself for Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a glorious thing. And with this, we thank you so much by chanting one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for your spiritual benefit. Everybody can unmute and chant along with us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna will be sending a link as well. If those who want to buy Bhagavatam, We will be sending a link. You can order online as well. We will deliver it to your doorstep. If you are living outside India as well, we can send it across to coordinate with other devotees. And please try to take this Bhagavatam and distribute to others. Thank you very much. We are ending the session. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.